is Focal Point with Brian Fisher on AFR Talk.
Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Told you at the top of the hour we had a breaking story out of the state of New Mexico. Very, very troubling story, and we've got some breaking developments. Fred Jackson, our news director, is here in studio with me. But just to review the basic elements of that case, there is a photography shop there, Elaine Photography, run by a husband and wife, both strong Christians. They were approached by a lesbian couple to shoot a lesbian commitment ceremony. And as I mentioned, same-sex relationships in New Mexico have no legal status whatsoever. No civil unions, no domestic partnerships, no gay marriage, none. So here was a lesbian ceremony, and they're fine to go out in the woods and call it whatever they want, but it doesn't have any legal status. So they approached this photographer, will you come and shoot our lesbian ceremony? And they politely declined. They weren't mean about it. They weren't angry. They didn't call names. They just simply politely declined. We're Christians. We have an understanding of what marriage is. We're not going to be able to do it. And they went out and found another photographer to do it. So everybody should have been happy. But they weren't content with this because here's a Christian exercising his religion in the marketplace, in commerce, and they couldn't have that. They could not allow that to pass unchallenged. They filed a formal complaint with the New Mexico Civil Rights Commission. The New Mexico Civil Rights Commission fined this photographer $6,700. The photographer appealed it with the help of Alliance Defending Freedom to an appeals court in New Mexico, which also found against the photographer and affirmed the fine. So they appealed to the New Mexico State Supreme Court. So this is the highest court in the state of New Mexico. And today, the New Mexico State Court issued its ruling. And Fred Jackson, our news director, the outcome, not a pretty picture for religious liberty. Talk to us about this.
It certainly isn't. I have the roughly 25-page decision here in front of me, but just to put it in a nutshell, the New Mexico Supreme Court is saying today that if you're Christians, you decide to go into business to serve the public with some product, you lose your freedom to express your religious beliefs as to what customers that you serve. And they use the New Mexico Human Rights Act that was passed in 1978. Let me just read a little bit from the decision here, Brian, so folks can get the context. This is directly from the opinion. First, this is the court speaking. First, we conclude that a commercial photography business that offers its services to the public, thereby increasing its visibility to potential clients, is subject to the anti-discrimination provisions of the New Mexico Human Rights Act. Therefore, when Elaine Photography refused to photograph a same-sex commitment ceremony, it violated that act in the same way as if it had refused to photograph a wedding between people of different races. So, important there, they're equating homosexual relationships to somebody's skin color.
You know, and the interesting thing, Fred, and I want to break down a little bit more from this ruling. I got some excerpts from a concurring opinion, but, you know, that 1978, whatever that law is, I will absolutely flat out guarantee you that that law prohibits discrimination on the basis of religion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly what's happened here.
Yes.
And I wonder when are Christians going to start filing suit against the people that are filing suit against them? No, you are violating this non-discrimination law because you are discriminating against me on the basis of my religion. Seems to me it's about time to start fighting fire with fire. But in reality, what you're seeing here, Fred, I guess what I'm getting to is you've got this law that says you can't discriminate on the basis of religion or sexual orientation, but clearly the religious plank has no meaning whatsoever. You can be discriminated against on the basis of religion all you want, as long as the value that supersedes that is the homosexual agenda.
The second point of the court is very interesting here in how they interpret the limitations on the rights of a Christian business person. The court says, second, we conclude that the New Mexico Human Rights Act does not violate free speech guarantees because the act does not compel Elaine Photography to either speak a government-mandated message or to publish the speech of another. So that's how they define the limits of their religious beliefs being upheld as far as when they go into business. that the government cannot tell you what to say in your business.
We can tell you what to do.
Yes.
We can tell you which people you have to do business with, but hey, our hands are clean because we didn't tell you what to say. Well, there's clearly coercion and compulsion here involved.
Let me just continue on here. It says, businesses that choose to be public accommodations must comply with the Human Rights Act, although such businesses retain their First Amendment rights to express their religious or political beliefs. They may, for example, post a disclaimer on their website or in their studio advertising that they oppose same-sex marriage, but that they comply with applicable anti-discrimination laws. All right, so you can post somewhere a sign about your beliefs, but you cannot exercise those beliefs to the extent that you deny service to those individuals. That's what it concluded.
Well, and I'm looking at the concurring opinion from one of the other judges, Justice Richard C. Bosson, I think is how you say his name. This is pretty alarming to me. The Huguenots are free to think, to say, to believe as they wish. They may pray to the God of their choice and follow those commandments in their personal lives wherever they lead. Well, criminally, that's what they're doing. This is their personal life. This is their business. So they're, but the guys know you can't do that. The Constitution protects the Huguenots in that respect and much more, but there is a price, one that we all have to pay somewhere in our civic life. And then he says this, in the marketplace, the Huguenots have to channel their conduct, not their beliefs, so as to leave space for other Americans who believe something different. That compromise is part of the glue that holds us together as a nation. I would say to the Huguenots, with utmost respect, it is the price of citizenship. Therefore, he says, I concur. Well, Fred, it seems to me, you look at the Constitution, the First Amendment, it does not protect freedom of religious belief. It protects the free exercise of religion. It goes way past just being able to believe whatever you want. It protects your right to exercise your religion, to exercise your Christian faith. That's a constitutionally protected right. So it seems to me that that's the right that's being trampled on here, the Huguenots' right to freely exercise their religion. That has just been trampled into the ground here.
What this New Mexico Supreme Court is saying today, Brian, is that if you're Christians and you decide to go into business, it's going to cost you, as far as you're going to have to pay the price to compromise on your beliefs if you want to be in business. When I read this decision, what I saw was a direct comparison to the battle that's going on right now with Hobby Lobby and about 50 or 60 other entities with regards to the contraceptive mandate. Hobby Lobby is saying we want to run our business according to our Christian principles. The Obama administration is saying, no, you cannot. That this law, Obamacare, supersedes your right to run your business according to Christian principles. Now, it's very interesting. We have a press release here from the Alliance Defending Freedom, the lawyers involved with this case. I want to read you, if you haven't already, I would like to read you the comments today from the senior counsel of the ADF, Jordan Lawrence. This is what he has to say about this decision. Government coerced expression is a feature of dictatorships that has no place in a free country. This decision is a blow to our client and every American's right to live free. Decisions like this undermine the constitutionality, protected freedoms of expression and conscience that we have all taken for granted. America was founded on the fundamental freedom of every citizen to live and work according to their beliefs and not to be compelled by the government to express ideas and messages they decline to support. We are considering our next steps, including asking the U.S. Supreme Court to right this wrong.
Well, what occurs to me here, Fred, is that essentially what this court has done and what the Obama administration has done with this abortifacient mandate is they have turned Christians into Dred Scot. In other words, the Supreme Court said with regard to Dred Scot, he has no rights that the white man is bound to respect. And what the Supreme Court of New Mexico has done, they have said that Christians have no rights which this court is bound to respect. So to me, this looks like Jim Crow is alive and well. We've got Jim Crow laws right back in operation. Christians are the new blacks. You know, and I look at this word compromise in this compromise is a part of the glue that holds us together. Well, you know, compromise, you know, if you and I compromise, you know, you want to go to Applebee's and I want to go to Chili's, and we compromise and go to Vanelli's or something like that. We talk about it, and we each give up something, and then we both come to a result that we're both happy with, that we agree with. It's voluntary. There's nothing voluntary about this. You can't call this a compromise. This is blatant government coercion, a trampling on religious liberty.
You know, I use the example sometimes in talking about religious expression. It seems fairly consistently, Brian, that it's directed against Christians. I remember one time passing through the Dulles Airport outside of Washington, and it was around noon hour, and many of the taxi drivers lining up in front of the airport were Muslims. And around noon hour, they took out their small carpets, and they all got down to pray on that public sidewalk. People looked at it, but no one said, I'm going to sue you because the presence of you praying out in front of this airport offends me. It wasn't thought about. And even as a Christian, they have that right. That was my belief. They have that right to go out and express their religious belief. What this is saying, remember, they're in a business. They're taxi drivers. All right? They're lined up to accept customers, but they stopped what they were doing to express their religious beliefs. What this case, and what we're seeing in other cases, the Obamacare contraceptive mandate, the Christian businesses are being told, no, there is a limit to how you can express your beliefs once you go into the business of serving the public.
You know, and this concurring judge says the Huguenot have to channel their conduct so as to leave space for other Americans who believe something different. Well, I say, well, why aren't the lesbian couple being asked to channel their conduct to leave space for Americans who believe something different? So the only people that are allowed to believe something different and act on those beliefs are those that are involved in homosexual deviancy, which is the term that I would use to describe that behavior. All right, Fred, listen, sobering news from the Culture Front. Thank you for taking time to break that down with us.
You're welcome.
Fred Jackson, news director at One News Now. You're listening to Focal Point at AFR Talk. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay with us. Man.